I have gotten probably as many emails and phone calls as I have ever gotten over the last couple weeks over the vaccine mandate. President Biden in a speech the other day said that he was going to require through the Department of Labor that any business that has more than 100 employees either has to mandate vaccines or has to do weekly testing, which is really just so cumbersome. It's basically you have to vaccinate everybody. It remains to be seen how it's going to be implemented. I think I heard on the news on my way over here that today the Department of Labor did implement some rules for businesses with more than 200 people. I'm not sure if that, I kind of caught it as I was going out the door. So I'm not super current on exactly what's happened to this point. But there are a couple challenges with what they've done and what we can do about it. And it's frustrating when you're a legislator, right? Because everybody calls you and they want the answer, I'm going to fix it. And it's difficult because, first of all, you're one of 125 votes in the House, and then you've also got another House that also has to vote. And right now, with the legislature being controlled by one party and the governor's office controlled by another party, you really have to have a 2/3 majority in order to get anything passed in the legislature. And so that's pretty frustrating, when you've got an issue like this and everybody wants it fixed right now. But I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you what's going on with it, and we'll go from there. The Attorney General said something that I thought was really interesting when this first happened. All the legislative leadership got together the day after it happened, and they wrote a letter to the president, which I signed on to, and about 74, 75 other representatives signed on to, and a mess of people in the Senate signed on to too, that told the president, we believe what you've done is unconstitutional. And they talked about the vaccine mandate, but they talked about a couple of the other things that the president was doing by executive order. And the first frustrating thing is there's a lot of case law over the years about mandating vaccines. And that's challenging because most of it's on the other side, saying that the government in certain circumstances does have the right to mandate a vaccine. But what's different about what the president did than all of that case law and all of those cases, and I've seen several memes going across Facebook, they've been mandating vaccines for a year. The difference is that the Congress of the United States passed a law giving an agency the authority to mandate those vaccines. And then that law was signed into law by the president, and then it was challenged in court, and it was upheld in court, and all of that case law. And so that is the constitutional process by which things happen. That's the constitutional process by which the government does anything that affects yours and my life. And that's not what happened here. What happened here was that the president just got up to a podium, gave a speech, and said, this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to tell the department that they've now got the authority to do that. And so I'm hopeful that this will be overturned in court. The challenge is the flash to bang, as we say in military terms, right? The distance between when people are getting fired from their jobs because they don't want to be mandated to get the vaccine, or they can't take the vaccine for one reason or another, and when this gets overturned in court. But that is how this gets fixed. I mean, honestly, that is how this probably gets fixed. Yeah. Yeah. So the way it gets fixed is that the attorney generals from all the states sue the president and the government for, and then hopefully they get a stay of the law or the rule until there's a decision made on it. But I'm not, they just, from what I understand from listening to the news today, they just passed the first rule today. And the Attorney General said something very poignant the other day when they were writing that letter. He said, you can't sue a speech, right? You can't, he says he's going to do something. You can't sue him for saying he's going to do something. You can only sue him when he actually does the activity. And so now it sounds like they've made the action, 200 instead of 100, but it sounds like they've made the action. And I'm certain that the Attorney General is going to sue. I'm certain that the Attorney General in Missouri is going to sue. I'm sure there's going to be a big group of states that are going to sue to stop this. The question is, will the courts issue a stay, or will they just let it go while it's going on? So the other thing that the legislature's doing, there's really two things that are going on in the legislature. The first thing that's going on is that the legislative leadership, the coordinating council, which is basically the leadership of the House and the Senate, they've formed a committee. I know you're like, oh God, a legislative committee. They formed a committee that is going to basically bring in lawyer after lawyer after lawyer and figure out what we can do legislatively at the state level. Or if there is anything that we can do legislatively at the state level. Yes, sir.
What you can do what on that?
Well, you talking about nullification? Yeah. So then hold that thought, because I'm coming back around to that. And but they're looking at they're looking at ways to like basically laws that we can pass, and the effects and maybe the unintended effects of things we pass. Because if we just outlaw, let's say we all came back into special session and we just outlawed businesses requiring a vaccine. Now, if you're a business that has 200 employees in the state of Kansas, what do? Do you comply with the Department of Labor? And now you violated state law and you're subject to whatever the penalties are in state law? Or do you follow the state law, and now you're getting fined by the Department of Labor for, that was very noisy, I'm sorry, it's very distracting. You're getting fined by the Department of Labor each day until you comply with their rule.
And so monitor these employers.
Yeah. Well, the Department of Labor, that's what the Department of Labor does, is they monitor employers, right?
Yeah. They do it that way, they don't have enough employees.
You're right. I mean, it's if everybody just mass non-complied, you're right. They would make examples. What they would do is they would do. No, it's not voluntary. You get fined if they catch you.
They expect the employer to report to them.
Yeah.
If they all went mum.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Put everybody in jail?
Yeah. What they'll do is they'll make examples. They'll like really slam a couple companies, hoping that they scare everybody else into compliance. And I'll tell you, I mean, let's just look back through the history of the last 18 months. I mean, you got Coca-Cola and Delta saying that Georgia shouldn't pass voting laws. You've got, I mean, the businesses are not in a place right now where they want to be, on, on one side of these issues. I mean, the businesses, especially the big corporations right now, they're pretty much just kind of rolling with kind of the prevailing media culture and the prevailing culture right now. And so I'm not confident that businesses would just mass not comply. But you're putting them in a tough position if we just go pass a law, right? There's a special session that's being called by about 5 legislators in the House and the Senate. I just signed on to that petition today, telling them that I am in favor of going into a special session. My hope is that by the time we get that special session convened, if we get it convened, the committee that has been formed by the LCC, the Legislative Coordinating Council, will have figured out a path forward for the state to attack this mandate. But I'll tell you, I mean, if you're holding out hope that the Kansas Legislature is going to pass a law that nullifies, it'll get rolled up into court with the court case on, that the attorneys general are going to file against the Department of Labor. And so it's not, you'll have that law and I'll be able to put on my push card when I'm walking out knocking doors, I voted to nullify the president's, but it's just going to get rolled into the court case along with everything else, because nullification has never successfully been asserted in the United States by a state legislature against the federal government. It's been tried a lot, and it's sometimes not been challenged in court, but it's never has the Supreme Court decided, yes, a state can just not follow a law because they believe it's unconstitutional. And so I know Montana, I get asked all the time on Second Amendment nullification too, right? I mean, I can pre-nullify any law that you might pass in the future, but if you pass the law, we're still going to have to sue to get the law stricken down, right? So that's the challenge. And I could stand up here and tell you, the easy thing to do would be to stand up here and tell you, yeah, we're going to do what Montana did, we're going to pass this, and then I go around and I tell everybody when I'm campaigning for re-election that I passed a law that, nullified, but it's not going to make this end any faster. So I'm trying to be honest with you. But I am in favor of a special session because there are a lot of things that we can do that will put pressure on the federal government to withdraw this unconstitutional order. If enough states pass resolutions with an overwhelming majority of state legislators saying that they don't have the right to do that, it's going to put pressure on the Congress to do something. But honestly, until November next year, probably the Congress isn't going to do anything about it. But I did sign on to that petition to convene a special session. I'll tell you what, a special session's tough. I went to, I saw the Speaker of the House. When was that KFL dinner? It's been August. Yeah, in August I saw the Speaker of the House, and at the time we were talking about the Kansas Emergency Management Act, which I'll talk about in just a second. But I told them, hey, I want to go into special session. I'm for a special session. And the leadership does a whip count. They know how many legislators are for a special session. He says, hey, there's 6 Republicans that are never voting for it because they don't want to go back into special session because they don't want to have to take a vote on this because they're red, Republicans in blue districts, and they know that they're going to get crushed at the next election if they. To me, it's either right or it's wrong. You go and you vote. I ran on what I believed. I'm going to go vote what I believe and what I think you guys want me to vote. And if I'm wrong, you're going to vote me out, right? But I went up there, with some pretty clear principles on these things. But there are a group of Republicans that are not going to sign that petition. And the way a special session works, there are 2 ways to convene a special session. I'm sorry for all this wonkiness, but I've got the opportunity, and it'll be on video, so I can put it on Facebook so everybody understands it, because I'm getting the emails and the phone calls over and over again. The governor can call a special session, or the legislature, if 2/3 in both houses sign a petition, they can petition the governor to call a special session. The first one has happened a lot. I mean, not a lot, but it's happened several times. It happened last year in June. The legislature got called back to repass the Kansas Emergency Management Act that she had vetoed the first time. So, or the changes to it that she had vetoed the first time. And occasionally governors have called the legislature back into session. But never in the history of have 2/3 of legislators in the House and the Senate successfully petition the governor to convene a special session. I've signed on. All the legislators, all the House delegation from Leavenworth County have all signed the petition. But there are some Republicans that just are never going to sign the petition. I guarantee you the Democrats ain't going to sign the petition. So we're not going to have the 2/3 that are required, I don't think. But I'll keep you updated. I'm going to start doing the rolling vote count as soon as they start tallying the number of people who've signed the petition, and it'll be on Facebook, and I'll keep you apprised. But I'm trying to be honest with you about expectations. The most likely way that this gets overturned is by our Attorney General and all the other Attorneys General in court. And hopefully they get a stay of it, and it stops folks, it stops this. So if you're watching this at home, or you're sitting in here and you're in one of those people that's in one of those jobs where your employer is telling you have to get vaccinated, and you feel that because of your health condition or whatever reason, you don't want to get vaccinated, you're probably asking yourself, well, that's super, now what do I do? Well, I'm not a lawyer, and so this is not legal advice. That's like they do on the ads, this is not legal advice. If I were in your shoes, I would file for the exemptions. Whatever exemptions are offering. If they're offering a medical exemption, they're offering a religious exemption, do that. Now again, I'm I'm not telling anybody in this room don't get vaccinated. If you feel that you're in one of the risk categories and you feel that it's right for you, and then go get vaccinated. Okay, I'm not in any way anti-vaccine. I'm just saying if you do not wish to get the vaccine and your employer is putting you in a position where you're being forced to, the first step is apply for all the exemptions. If you've expended the exemption process, who knows? The exemption process might take until they get a stay of this decision, and then then you're clear at least until there's a decision rendered. But if that's not the case, make them fire you. Do not quit. Make them fire you, because now you're eligible for unemployment benefits while you're sitting at home because they fired you from your job. And if you want to pursue legal action against your company at some point, you didn't quit, they fired you.
Would the government somehow take unemployment benefits away from people?
Well, the unemployment benefits are run by the state. The governor cannot make that decision unilaterally. And so that I will die before I will vote to, the other day, over in Lansing School District, the school district voted to not give paid COVID leave to people that are sent home for COVID reasons if they haven't been vaccinated. That's a local decision. They've got the right to do that. You've got the right to vote them out of office in November, but they've got the right to do that. But they're a legislative body. We don't think of them as a legislative body, but they pass rules for the school district, and the city commission is a legislative body that passes ordinances for the city. We're the legislative body for the state, and I will die before I will vote to not give unemployment benefits to somebody based on their vaccine status. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm sorry I'm jumping all over the place, but you asked this question. We've outlawed any state agency requiring a vaccine passport or issuing a vaccine passport. So how would the unemployment agency even verify that you were not vaccinated? Because we've outlawed vaccine passports. And so I would have loved to have done more. I would have loved to have done all the things that we're talking about but we didn't have the votes for it. We did what we had the votes for to override a veto.